Hello and welcome to Virtual Art. In this video we're going to talk about the creation process of the components. We are going to talk about the line-based components and also the components that require to be placed in another object or architectural object. In this case, we are going to talk about the ceiling-based components. And we're going to also talk about the modify tools in the ribbon, such as align, offset, mirror, move, copy, and so on. And we're going to talk about restrictions and some other functions. So let's get started. To create a component, we click here, and here we're going to go to the type selector, and here we can see all the common component families that are loaded in our file. In this case, I'm going to choose this chair, and now I can create here by just doing click, or before that I can press the space bar to rotate the object every 90 degrees. And I just click here and the object is created. Now I can also, that spacebar trick also works to align an object to another. For example, if I have this curve circle here, I can place my cursor close to the edge and press the spacebar. And now the object is rotating, but notice that it's rotating according to the perpendicular or tangent of that curve. Now, if I move my cursor around, I can see that it keeps being aligned. However, this doesn't work in every curve. For example, I have this ellipse, and since this is an ellipse, it won't work here. It just will rotate in a normal way in the orthogonal views. So that's to keep in mind. Now another type of components that we may find is the line-based component. For example, I have these chairs, and I cannot create them because I don't have a floor. If I had a floor, Revit will detect automatically that I have a floor below here, and it will allow me to create it. Since I don't have a floor, I can just click here in place on work plane and choose the level I'm creating here. In this case, I'm the level 1, so I choose level 1. And now I can create this component. Click and click. So now this is a line-based component. It means that it is a line that is making an array of these chairs. So if I move this line and extend it, this family is automatically going to duplicate the chairs to fill the gap between those 2 points, the 2 ends of the line. Now another object that we may see are the ceiling-based components. Actually, components may be based on a wall, or in this case, well, let's talk about a ceiling. Now I'm going to click in load family, and I'm going to navigate to the lighting folder. This is in the Revit library that comes with the installation. If it doesn't appear, I'm going to create a tutorial how to solve that problem. In this case, I'm going to architectural internal. Let's say that I go to this one, parabolic rectangular. So now I have it loaded, but I cannot create it. That's because it can only be placed in a ceiling. Actually, we can see here that it says click on ceiling to place instance. So what I'm going to do is go to the ceiling plan and to level 1. Let's think about these ceiling plans as a normal floor plan. I mean that imagine that we're looking downward, but that we have a mirror in the floor, so we are going to see a reflected projections of the ceiling. So now I'm going to create component, And now, since I have a ceiling that I have created earlier, I can place these lightings. There are some objects. You must be very sure that you are creating an object when you use the modify panel to load a family. For example, if I have the door tool selected, I can create load family and it will only load doors. If you're not sure what family you're loading it, or you have problems loading it, you may also go to insert and to load family. So now this is going to more easily load any family. So you want to find some families because the Revit default library doesn't come with all the families you will want. You can also go to Revit City. That is a page where we're going to download families. Just click on search and you can click here and type whatever you are searching. You will have to log in first. So now we're going to talk about the modify tab in the ribbon. So for that I'm going to another project. I'm going to close all unnecessary windows here, views. And here we're going to start talking about the align or AL. So I'm going to click here and to align, this is going to align the second line that we pick to the first one. In this case, for example, if I click here and now here, it is going to align that way. Click here and it's going to align. If I activate this option, all the lines that I pick are going to align to the first one. For example, if I click this one, I click here, here, and here. So if I click outside without picking any element, it is going to reset and I have to pick the first one again. For example, I pick this one. And that's how it's going to work. So I'm going to create a wall, WA, I'm going to create a wall here. So now the align option also has, the align tool also has an option here to prefer wall faces. We can select, for example, center of core. We're going to talk about what is the core in a later video, but notice that now Revit is going to first selecting the center of the wall. So I can click here and now align the object. I also can press tab to change the selection. For example, I'm going to exit from the command. I'm going to go to align again. And I can press tab to change the line that Revit is selecting by default. So I select this one and now I can align it to the edge of the wall. This button, this little lock, is going to create a constraint. If I click here, now escape. Now if I move this wall, the component is going to move along with it. And now if I want to move this component upward or downward, I cannot. I can just move it along the axis of this wall. You can also create a constraint by going here and create an align dimension. You can also go to annotate and align for this. So I'm going to click these center lines and create this. So now that I have created, I can click here. This is a total dimension equality, an equal symbol. If I click here, all these dimensions are going to have the same distance. So, and it has not only done that, it has also applied a constraint. So if I now move this object, all the distances are going to keep the same. I can also delete this without deleting the constraint. In case I don't want to see this, I can just click this one and press delete. Now here is a warning. It's telling me that I have deleted the dimension, but I haven't deleted a constraint. So I cannot see the dimension, but a constraint that makes that the distance between all these objects are the same is continue to operating here. So it gives me the option to delete the constraint, but I don't want to do so. So I'm going to just click OK. So now I can see that all the objects are keeping its constraint. So how do I delete it now? Well, you can click here in reveal constraints. So I click here, and now I can simply see and delete with the constraints. And now I can move the objects freely again. Now we're going to talk about the offset, this tool. Now I'm going to select, for example, I have these two options, graphical and numerical. If I click graphical, first I'm going to click on the object that I want to offset. So I'm going to click here. Now that I have selected, now I pick the distance. So the first point to specify the distance and the second point. And the offset is apply. Control C. Now I'm going to numerical. With numerical, I just need to do one click to either side, and we can see that it is previewing where it's going to place the offset. So I'm going to click here, 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 and continue applying the offset. If I want to apply all the offset of all this shape, I want to offset all the shape at once, I can simply place a cursor over the shape and press tab. Now all the shape is selected and I make click. If I disable copy, it is going to delete the original shape. If I want to delete all the shape, I can also press tab, select it, and press delete. Now we're going to talk about a mirror. So I'm going to select our object, press spacebar, and now I have to select a line. For example, the center of this wall, and it's going to mirror. And we have another mirror here. This mirror is going to allow us to create our own axis, our own line. So in this case, for example, I'm going to create an angle here and click. Or to make it more obvious, I'm going to just create another angle like this one. So I can see that I have created a line and Revit has created a mirror in this direction. So I'm going to select these ones. Now we have the move command. With the move tool, I'm going to select this, and it says constraint. Well, with move, I can simply click one click and another click. In this case, for example, with these desks, I can create a constraint. I mean, if I click here in constraint, now I can just move this component in some orthographic directions, in orthogonal directions. This join is going to prevent from, for example, from a wall to keep join. For example, if I have this wall join here, and if I click move, and now I'm going to move this one here to here. So we can see that this wall is extending to keep joined to this one. So, but if we want to prevent this from happening, I can click move and click this join. So now that I move this wall, it won't keep attached to each other. Now we're going to see how to copy an object. So to copy, I just click here and press here and click to first click and to second click. The second click is going to be our destination click. So I also have that constraint and a multiple. If I activate multiple, then I make our first click, the source point, and our destination point that maybe several clicks, several points. So I can create several copies of this object. Now to rotate, I'm going to select our object, spacebar. Now I can simply make one click and a second click to determine the angle. I have also this option that copy, disjoint, and also place. This place is going to allow me to select another center of rotation. And this button here, default, is going to return it to the default place. But I always prefer to simply drag. I click here and I drag it wherever I want. So I click and I click. That is a faster way. Here, the measure between two reference is a very quick way to measure two objects. It's not going to be available in the 3D view, but will be in all the plans. Like in this plan view, on the section view or elevation view, it's going to be available. Here, measure along an element is going to allow us to simply select an object, and it will return its measures. So now I'm going to talk about this, the array. So I'm going to select this wall, and this button is going to allow me to see some dimensions. I'm going to leave this group and associate turned on to see what happens. So I'm going to number and click 4. And in this case, I'm going to click here last. That means that I'm going to do 2 points. The first point is going to be the origin. And the last click I do is going to specify the distance of the whole array. So I'm going to click this here and click in the end of the entire array. Let's say I want it here. So it's going to give me an option to change the number of elements if I want. I'm going to leave it like this in this case. Now I can see that I have this symbol here. That means that it is a group. So let's pick any of these and I double click here. And let's say I want to create a wall here and I click finish. So now all of these ones are instance groups. So any modification that I do inside of one is going to be repeated in every one. So it may be very useful in the creation of modules for stores, for example. To ungroup it, just select everything and ungroup. Now I'm going to select this and delete them. And delete these ones too. So that happened because I have activated this option, that group and associate. I'm going to disable this. I'm going to create 4, and in this case I'm going to create second. So I'm going to create one click and a second click. So now I have specified the distance between two objects before creating the array. And now these walls aren't grouped. Now I'm going to select, for example, this one and create, let's say I want to create a angular array, and the same principle is going to apply. I'm going to specify the number of objects, the distance, 1 click, 2 clicks, and I'm going to create the array of objects. I can also, in case I want to well, I may not want to be over each other, so I'm going to do here, excuse me, this button. So I'm going to move the axis center of rotation and just click here. And it's going to create the angular array. So now here with the scale, I click here. And it will also simply, it's very simple. I'm going to select this object, click, and click to the first point of reference. Now here, I'll click here, and now I click our final point of reference. So that's how we use the scale. And this little pin here is going to block an object so we don't move it. So I'm going, for example, to pin this. Now I cannot move this object. If I click here or click here, now I disable that pin, so I remove that pin so I can move it freely. Now we're going to talk about these three last tools. The first one, this is the trim tool. So if I'm going just to click here and here, and it's going to close to these walls, or it can work also with lines. It will keep the side that we're clicking in, and it will trim together the elements. So now we have two tools that work in a very similar way. This is the trim extend single element. That we're going to click here in a line, and now any other object that we click is going to be extended to that line. So you can click here and it is extended. So if I want to extend another object, I have to click once again here and here again. So if I want to extend all these objects, it will be a bit tedious to be clicking making two clicks for each one of those. So we have this other tool where I'm going to click here and I'm going to click and drag here. So all these elements are going to be extended to that line. Pay attention that in Revit isn't the same drag from the leftward than from the rightward. So if I click here and I click and drag from the left to the right, it is not going to be to select the elements, because when we drag a selection box from the left, Revit will have to, the objects that we want to select must be completely inside a selection box. So I'm going to extend this here, and once I have selected all of them completely, now I release a click and the objects are extended. So that will be everything for these videos. So if you liked it, remember you can give it a like, and you can also subscribe and activate the bell to receive notifications of my videos. You can also follow me on the social networks. Thanks and bye!